I love boxing history, especially that on black boxers of old. You could ask me to name some of my all-time favorite fighters, and they would be from times long ago. Fighters such as George Dixon, Joe Gans, Sam Langford, Jack Johnson, Joe Jeanette, Sam McVeigh, etc., etc. But perhaps my favorite bare-knuckle prize fighter is James Wharton, aka the Moroccan Prince, or Young Molyneux. He was born in Tangiers, Morocco in 1813 to an African trader sailor father and a local mother. When he was 12 years old, he found employment as a cabin boy with an East Indiaman vessel called the Hopewell. While on board, the cook accused James of stealing supplies from the galley, and Wharton attacked his accuser. A furious meal ensued. They were separated quickly in order to report to the captain's quarters. The captain happened to like fighting, and once he heard both of their sides, he promptly ordered the men to fight according to the rules of the English prize ring on the main deck in front of the entire crew. Wharton was not a large boy, standing at 5 feet 9 inches and weighing close to 150 pounds, which was considered to be a great disadvantage, for his opponent was a large specimen of humanity, standing close to 6 feet and weighing 180 pounds. However, young James proved to be the master of the situation, avoiding the clumsy blows of the cook with the coolness and dexterity that he would later make famous during his ring career, and knocked his adversary about until the larger man gave in. This will be a recurring theme in the adventurous life of James Wharton. He would go on to be one of the greatest prize fighters of all time in my estimation, and he would retire undefeated with only one slight blemish on his record, a draw after 4 hours of fighting a man who was heavier than him for 200 rounds nevertheless. He fought from 1833 to 1840 and was a very crafty and strong fighter. The rules back in those days were quite different than the ones we know now in boxing and organized combat sports. Fighters were able to stand over their downed opponents without going to a neutral corner, and they were able to throw people on their heads as well as to wrestle in roughhouse, eye gouge, you name it. Fights were much longer and arduous, plus they could often go on for 2 to 4 hours. This is the era in which Mr. Wharton plied his trade. He died on April 25th, 1856 from complications related to tuberculosis. Like the great boxer Tom Molyneux who came before him, Wharton didn't know how to handle all of the success and started drinking heavily, a tragic end to a great life. But he was the most complete black prize fighter who ever entered the ring in England in those times, and despite never receiving a title in name, he was generally considered a champion. He is my favorite prize fighter of that time, not only because of his being an undefeated and crafty fighter who triumphed against all odds, but also because of his dandyish ways. He would wear very flamboyant ring attire, and on his way to the ring, he would sometimes even hand out little orange handkerchiefs to people in the crowd. He would stroll to the ring, flipping his cap casually to the ground, while a ripple of laughter rolled through the mob as Wharton opened his coat to reveal a dandy display of colorful fighting togs. He casually pulled from his belt a bright orange handkerchief, which he waved in the air lightly to the crowd. It is said that he had a particular fondness for oranges, and therefore adopted the dye of the fruit for his fighting colors. You can see that in the painting I used for the cover of this work. James Wharton, the Moroccan Prince, was inducted into